Okay. Good morning. This is the Southampton, Massachusetts Council on Aging, Wednesday, January 9th, board meeting. It's 9:30 a.m. and we are being both video and audio recorded. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
Everybody want to turn and wave to the camera?
No.
Or not turn and wave to the camera. Okay, so we called the meeting to order. There is no one here from the public, so we're good to go here. And the minutes from December. I had a couple things, Lori.
Okay, I have one thing.
Go ahead, you go first.
I think they were excellent, they were brief, and they captured most of everything that happened. However, I did raise and commented on the question with regard to the closing of the center for the end of the month. And it was an important contribution that I made because it related to a budgetary issue as well as, you know, making the determination. And I think Joan did not get, she presented it as she was closing the senior center. So and you have said numerous times that she reports to Ed.
Yes.
So
Yep.
Ed is the person that you would have gone to.
And she did.
Okay, so I wanted to at least, if not amend those minutes,
Okay.
at least include it in
All right,
this.
would you do me a favor and just write down what you want me to put in?
Do you have it in the tape?
I would
Because-
just say that Joan reported to the board that she had shared with Ed and agreed with Ed that the center would be closed from starting the 24th and reopening on the 3rd of January. 2nd of January, thank you.
Okay. Reported to the board and Ed.
That she had spoken with Ed
Okay.
regarding the closure of the,
I would amend that to say that she stated to the board that she
You're
was
going to
closing.
have to write it down because I
Okay.
cannot write first thing in the
Okay,
morning.
all right.
okay, so why don't we
You
do
want to
that?
write it on the back of one of these agendas?
Okay.
Thank you.
So the only thing, I had a couple things.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I have them written down, I can share them with you
Oh, good.
verbatim afterwards if you'd like.
Yeah.
If everyone agrees.
Unless they're short and I can just go in and,
Well, one is that we had set up a strategic planning subcommittee of you, me, and Liz to start,
Okay.
and it's not in here.
all right, so if you give me that.
Okay,
that's
and the
right.
other thing is that there was an election for a recommendation of Yvonne to the board, and that wasn't in here.
I thought that was in last month's minutes. I may be wrong.
I thought it was in last month's minutes.
Let's see,
Yeah,
where-
because she was.
But it only happened last.
Yeah, I think it just happened at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
That I read because it says I read Dorothy's letter.
Yeah, and we
Right?
voted Yvonne in.
That at the
And
same
that's not
time.
written
Yeah.
in? Or it is written in?
No, it's not there. I was gonna say.
Not in this month, last month.
When did I read Dorothy's letter? Let me just see.
That's a good point.
Also,
It wasn't
It was the
December.
opening
as
of
a board member,
December.
then you're actually...
Oh, so it had to be.
Well, when did we take her to lunch?
Yes, so, at the end of December. So the chair reading a letter of resignation from Dorothy, and at that
Okay,
time,
that
so
was
in addition to
December.
that, he
All
voted
right, so give
to...
me that after. I'll correct
I'll do
it.
So we voted for her to officially be on the board. Was she still,
No,
was the
we
select
appointed
board?
her to be a recommendation to the select
Okay,
board.
okay,
Yes.
all right.
That's
So
what
that's
the board
the,
has already okayed.
yeah, no, I know.
Yeah, that's done.
Was that tonight? Was that last night?
No, that
Just
was
make a
like
mistake.
the next day.
I was trying to
Or that
process
night.
while I was
when it
answering.
was. Maybe just, they were so fast.
Yeah, it was kind of fast. I know, she just had enough time to say yes, and that
I
was
didn't
it.
want you to rethink it.
So what else do we have?
Anything else from anybody else?
All right, I'll see Janet after. Pick up her.
All right, and all right,
And
I
you'll
just
write
wanted to
whatever
listen
you
when
want.
Janet was
Move this
presenting.
into 3 pages, I'm sure.
Any-
This is how I do the minutes, because I cannot use my fingers anymore.
Yeah.
So when I'm doing minutes, I'm two-fingering through this whole process.
So what Lori's trying to plant the seed is that when the elections come around for secretary later this year, or earlier this year, that we'll be looking for volunteers.
Right.
A volunteer.
Well, multiple, I meant people
Oh, yeah,
jump
to
in and
present
just
us, yeah,
ask.
jump
That's
in.
right.
Oh, okay.
It'd be nice if that happened.
We'll have to get a bigger door.
Do we have a motion
So,
to set as amended?
I move to accept the secretary's report as amended.
Okay.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any other discussion? And anybody opposed? No, okay.
That was it.
Okay, update from the Friends. That would be you, Kate.
Okay, they had their, the Friends had their regular meeting yesterday at 10:30. It was a short meeting, and they went over their previous month's business, their treasurer's report, and their luncheon and plans for their future, for Mother's Day luncheon, and also the June 10th barbecue. And they discussed all those things, and it ended early because at 11 o'clock they had to go to we had to adjourn to the annual meeting. And in the annual meeting, there was a larger group, and Andrea Sullivan headed that, and she did an overview of the past year, and Francine explained the reorganization of Friends and the benefits of being officially recognized as a legal charity. And the director's report was given by Joan, and they had the election of officers. And then there was a discussion and progress of new ideas, and a certificate was given to Carolyn Jarrow for her many years of service, and that adjourned at 12 noon.
Who are the officers?
Oh, I couldn't remember all the ones they elected a,
Yeah, they had to get three.
I think they'll announce it at the next
That
meeting.
large, yeah.
Yeah, in the next meeting, yeah. And they had
But Andrea did take over as president. Or,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, chair.
yeah. And then they have three
At large.
at large, yeah. I can't remember. I think they're gonna, I think they'll have to check with everybody to be sure everybody was gonna be. There was one, I don't think everybody was there that was going to be there, but I think they'll announce it at next meeting.
Yeah, officially.
But, so that was what happened yesterday.
The only comment I have is I don't recall in the past you making mention that, is it this Joan or some other Joan?
Joe Linehan.
Oh, okay, you make a report to the Friends?
I did because it was the annual
It
meeting.
was the annual meeting.
They requested a report of, because they gave us my senior center and they wanted to know about the activities. So I was requested to be there, and I've been at the meetings anyway, but I was asked to do a report.
Okay, and
Well,
do
this
we
was
get
open
a...
to the public. Where were you?
Yes, it
We
is.
sent out
I said the dentist.
2,200 reminders about it, and we got 18 people.
No, I'm not objecting to the fact that you had the meeting. I knew you had the meeting, but...
I think it was you just gave a verbal report. You didn't hand out.
I didn't hand out anything, I just gave a
So-
report about the activities that we had, and
Yeah, because we had
Oh, okay,
questions.
okay.
We
Well, it just
commented.
sounded
There was a lot of
like-
comments about the comedy show she put on, about the things that you're not attending, that are going over so well.
Would you please say that louder and make sure that that's in the minutes?
Everybody hear that?
Yeah, it wasn't a written report, so.
and it was only 5 minutes. I was only allowed 5 minutes to talk. So that's a lot to put into a year.
Yeah, I guess I wanted to understand what they're getting out of the senior center that they purchased for the senior center, my senior
The
center. so.
$10 membership.
Yeah.
And there was a big to-do about the trips, which have changed this year.
Right,
That
right.
Friends had handled the money for the trips was very complicated and extra work, so now the Landmark Trip Company is handling the money. So,
You know, it really wasn't a fundraiser, so it shouldn't have really fallen through them, so. Good. Anything else?
No, I'll mention it in additional
Okay.
items. Okay. I'm still
All right.
writing, but I'm writing. Okay. I'm under orders here.
Director and volunteer report.
So everybody got it on the computer?
I didn't see your report. I'm sorry. I
Yeah, it was
printed
sent out.
everything.
See if I have it.
Close is on the other side.
Oh, great. No, I'm-
I printed out everything but
I
that.
just need clothes.
Okay.
I have yours. Thank you.
All right, so I just wanted to touch base on the week that we closed the center. We did have 6 phone calls. One was for a need for transportation. We had about 6 pieces of mail, and only one was an important piece of mail. And I don't think that we were in a hardship for not having the center open. We don't provide meals. We don't provide, there are things that they can call the police or fire if they need, an emergency. So my feeling is the days the center were closed, it was not a hardship for the seniors in town. And I know because of the budget, and I had to use some vacation time because they won't give you holidays unless you use vacation time. So the budget was not as affected as me just taking a week off, because I needed to get my my holiday pay. So anyway, I apologize if you feel that it was a hardship to close. We can reconsider that for next year.
Did I hear anybody say that? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
the word hardship has not been
No, okay.
used.
Just want to clarify.
But
Okay.
I will, the reason I brought it up was very evident that how it had been handled in the past, and whether that was an opportunity for the director or the staff. I mean, because I think in the past they alternated. Both of them were not here. And that's the case now. You have 2 people. So in terms of catching up, of
So
doing things
one
that...
could be in the office and one could take it off.
One's a volunteer coordinator, that's not her job. It's
No,
not
the
the
assistant.
No, it's a Darlene.
Darlene
No, I know,
position.
right.
So, anyway, so that was my
So in the future,
prior
for next
in
year, we
my
can have
9
a
years. I will be
discussion.
here 9 years.
Wow.
This June will be completing my 9 because as I looked back, it's been a roller coaster. But anyway, so last year was the first year, and then this year. So if it's going to be an ongoing thing, I think pretty much people knew what was going on. So no one contacted me to say, oh, senior center was closed. We did have a general conversation at our Highland Valley board meeting because all the senior centers are so different in terms of whether they have a home, whether they can, they meet in the same place, so certain places are not as accessible or available over the holidays. But one of the members said that they tried to have access or have resources because sometimes the holidays are difficult times for seniors, in terms of loneliness and so forth.
And if-
I don't know how many people came, when they were open, so for me to say,
When we're open, we don't get a huge turnout to begin with, so
During that.
during the regular week.
And I noticed that, because I was at Northampton, they closed the 2 Mondays. So the only 2 days that we closed additionally were the Wednesday, Thursday, and that in between week. So I kind of did a feel on some of the bigger centers and how they handled that.
and
When I spoke to the bingo crew and asked how many would be coming,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not calling bingo for 5 people.
That was
Yeah,
the
no,
day
no,
after
no.
the holiday.
Yeah.
And I do agree with Joan that in terms of Westfield or Northampton or Easthampton, they have meals. There's other critical components to the operation of those centers, so they can just,
Yeah, we
I mean,
can't
even if somebody
compare.
the director takes time off, they still have other people that can
Right.
support.
And we can't compare Southampton to...
Oh, of course
Six.
not. We're very unique.
But the fact that they were closed those 2 days before was surprising to me, that Northampton would be closed
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
2
Well,
Mondays.
Well, they have
Mondays
that
and
big,
Tuesdays.
first night, so that a lot of people go, and they start early in the afternoon.
Right.
I mean, we were closed at 2. The offices were closed by 2.
Before Christmas.
Before Christmas.
And the first night is Thanksgiving. Yeah,
And New
or sorry,
Year's.
New Year's. I'm not sure if I didn't hear that we closed New Year's at all. New Year's Eve day.
Oh, no.
I didn't hear that.
Anyway, let's get to
As
the
far as-
report. I don't want to belabor, but we'll think ahead in the next 11 months and talk about should we do it again or shouldn't we? And I think it depends on where the holiday falls. You know, if it falls in the middle of the week, well, then maybe, you know, it wouldn't be good to have the weekdays before it off, but maybe the days after. So we're not worried about that for another 11 months. So the walking club's doing very well. Yvonne and Catherine have been part of it. They started at Eastworks, and they're doing 3 days a week instead of 2, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We had quite a busy, even though we were only opened, we had 3 weeks, I had a very busy December. We planned our trips, as you know, for next year. We've already changed a date on one due to a group. The Thimble Islands is going to be moved to June because they don't take group trips in July because they have enough people that want to take the trip. They don't need to plan groups there.
So can I ask a question?
Yes.
Regarding the trips. So how did we come up with those?
Darlene and I and the Landmark Tours, lady had lunch
Okay.
here. She treated. And we just, in my mind, summer trip has to do with a boat or a ride, you know, so that, in my mind, anything, like the Boston one was recommended to us. Somebody had said, well, we should go to Boston, so I have done that trip before on my 44th birthday, and this, I don't want to believe this, but in bingo, 44 is quack quack. And so the duck tour was very important, so I was there on May 24th of my 44th birthday. So anyway, Lake George has a boat, Thimble Islands has a boat.
And that's just a day trip?
These are day
Lake
trips.
George?
How long would that take to get to Lake George?
So I think it's either an hour and a half to 2 hours.
Oh,
So it's closer than you think, because I looked at that too. Some of them, I don't have all the details yet, because it's right over through New York, right? It's right over
If you
there.
go 90 west,
And
that's
take
one of the easiest ways to do it,
87,
or, yeah, is Zoom.
But it's an hour and a half to Albany and probably maybe, so another.
I had considered,
half an hour
you know,
to an hour.
having some kind of a overnight, but I don't think
Yeah, I
our
don't think
group
you
is
would
ready.
do that.
I mean, some people
Are
are
you
ready.
ready for that? No.
I am, but I don't know.
Where are the Thimble Islands?
That's in Connecticut. Right. Yeah, off of Bradford, Connecticut. It's an amazing, amazing group of islands. In fact, there's, in this month's Yankee, January, February, I think is the story of it. Right.
We really need to get a person to do the trips.
Sure.
That should be separate. Are you doing
Well,
anything
Yvonne's
about that?
Yvonne's helping me a bit, so.
Yeah, we talk. We definitely talk about different
So are
possibilities.
you
and things.
officially the,
No, I'm not officially. I am just
Okay.
officially Yvonne.
COA board member. That works. We don't have an official
I promise you,
travel
I won't
coordinator
be
yet.
traveling on these trips.
Well, but see,
I will assign a volunteer who gets a free trip if they take the trip, but I will not be traveling on these trips. I've been here before. Darlene may take one if she wants to, but, I mean, Yvonne, if you were willing to go on one of the trips, you want to be a trip leader, you get a free trip. That's how it works, so.
Well, that's
We can-
good to
we
know,
can
'cause
talk about
I plan
it.
to go on all the trips.
We tried to get the Friends to develop a travel club, but we have a small group, so, you know, only a few people are interested in the travel part, plus the leadership part is a responsibility. So I feel confident that Yvonne could help with some of it, and I know the office does have to take in money, which can be complicated, but we have a system, just as we have a system with the Healthy Bones and the other groups that have, well, Healthy Bones doesn't pay, but the yoga and the exercise equipment. So I feel that it's a great group. We get, 40, 50 people to go, and it's,
Those sound like
are
good
we
trips.
doing this solo, or are we doing it in conjunction?
this year I'm
with-
going to try it solo.
Okay.
Since we had the biggest biggest percentages of people that went anyway.
Going.
so-
And it's right here, Tractor Trailer. Easthampton does their own trips, and they leave from Tractor Trailer Supply. So technically, I know Yvonne goes with Northampton group or whatever group she wants to go with.
So I think it's a goal, though, to try to work to get a volunteer to head this up. It's just, we're
Absolutely.
not quite there yet, but I think we've made some good steps
Yeah.
before, where we just need to
And there may be, it might develop from somebody who's interested in the trips, you know, just.
I mean, I
saying.
definitely enjoy the trips, and I'm interested in the trips. I'm just holding off getting involved in anything else right now until my husband gets on the pump, the insulin pump, and is successfully on it versus unsuccessful.
It's a responsibility, you know,
Yeah.
first, family first, so we understand.
Right.
Okay. So Amanda just kind of wanted to know,
Yes.
because it was,
I don't know if
we hadn't talked about it in December, and by January, we had all the trips selected, so I was just trying to better understand.
So trips usually are planned in October, November of the previous year. So, I mean, some of it is just, these are trips that I know are tried and true. I've done them before. I know that they're successful. And Landmark has done them before. I know they know they're successful. And they're, you know, a good company because they've been around a while. So I'm hoping, you know, like I said, if we should have a suggestion box or somebody wanted to suggest something, it would have to be for the following year because that's how far ahead you have to plan. I did have, we want to talk about the oldest person in town. There's the Boston cane that needs to be passed down. Now, I know her daughter's name is Emily Fitzgerald, but I don't know who the mother is. She had farmland here. I'm sorry, they don't know her name. I think Flo knows her name. But in the near future, we're going to try and do that ceremony of the Boston cane. I don't know if anybody's been involved with that.
No, I know somebody in Bedford who lived to be 103.
So this lady, I think, is either
My
98
goal is
or
to
99.
get the Boston cane.
Yeah, there you go for it. She's either 98 or 99. Unfortunately, Mr. Fournier passed away. He was the next in line, and he was only around for 3 or 4 months. He passed away, so the next in line is a woman, and hopefully we can get it to her. That goes through Ed and I think Lucy. The Triad Group is going very well. They meet once a month. We have the new chief is on the Triad Group. They did 35 buckets
The new
of sand
police chief?
installed. The new
Is that
police chief, Ian Ellingsworth. And we had numbers. We've been doing half a dozen numbers a month. And they want to do like a little flyer or something you can hang on your door to let people know. Like if the fire or police come to a place where it's not well marked, they want to put it on the door that says, call for a number, so that in the next event, you'll have good markings on there. So, and they're going to work with the people that have sand. If they don't have good markings, we're going to make sure they have good markings. So anyway, the whole program's going to be good. I did talk to Chad Moir this morning. I was trying to get him before the meeting. He did set up
Who is
6
he?
dates. He's in charge of
Sure.
DOPAFIT.
Okay.
And so he has 6 dates, the Wednesdays in March, 4 Wednesdays in March and 2 in April, 10 o'clock in the morning. It does affect our meeting in March.
Oh, in March, our meeting.
Actually, in April. Then I don't know if he could do it a little later, but I can ask if we can change it to 11. That might be a little better. But anyway, it's an hour session. It's going to be called Balance and Movement,
Okay.
and by DOPAFIT. And yeah. So, but
Is this in addition to Healthy Balance?
this is for the $5,500 that we got to do a program for the center. So
So
that's
this is the Parkinson, the Parkinson's organization, but instead of just targeting that audience, we're going to target any,
And hopefully get more people in to see the center and use the center, and hopefully develop maybe another piece of equipment because of that. Yeah.
is it going to be different than Healthy Bones in some way?
I haven't seen the program.
Okay. So we'll have to look at it.
My guess it is. I need to do some more. I did do some publicizing in this one, but I need to get more details and figure out what it is. Is it this one or the last one?
How much are we, because I
It's
thought the newsletter,
$600.
the way it was phrased, I think it was is this January? I think it was on the front page. Didn't you have that in the front page?
This is the one about
Page, no.
Right.
That's the DOPAFIT.
Yeah, this is the one.
Yeah, So it says here, a 6-week course will be offered for our seniors free of charge due to a grant from the state for $5,500.
So that's only
Where are we?
$600.
I know, so where's the rest of the money?
Well, that's what we're hoping to get a piece of equipment.
That's on the agenda later on.
We're going to talk about it
That's-
today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it on the
It's
agenda?
yes.
We have to have it
Okay.
spent by June 30th, so I think we can spend it.
Yeah, we have plenty of time.
So you don't actually have to know exactly what you're going to do.
We have to have an idea. We had to present, an idea, which we did back in October. So
Okay.
I think
Who did you
that's
present it
To the state, you had to
To the
submit
state.
something
Oh.
to the state when you return the form.
I don't understand why we don't get, I apologize, but I'm a little confused because we are an advisory board. Joan makes decisions. She may share them with you, she may not bring them all to the board. And then Ed makes decisions that we're not aware of until you bring
So
them.
we have a board
I guess,
this has been brought up at 2 other meetings. I'm pretty sure I'd have to look at the
Right.
minutes, but, oh, hello.
Oh, well, I just,
the light on?
Yeah, it's on, it just,
Um,
I'll be right there.
I have heard of this program.
Yeah, we talked
I
about
don't
it.
consider it a program because it's a series of workshops. Let's put it for 6 weeks. Is it 6 weeks?
This one is a 6 weeks,
So-
1 hour, yes.
Semi-list.
well, I think the beauty of this, first of all, I have a new primary physician, and one of the things she did because of my age, she has me in physical therapy every week for balance and movement. So this is a great program to be offering seniors because it gives them an introduction. If they really are getting a benefit from it, they may join Healthy Bones. It
Oh,
may
I don't
introduce
question the
them.
value of it. I think it's great, I'm not questioning that. I'm commenting on the flow of information. Because if you're being told, supposedly this is how the chair worked before, you had more contact with the director.
Right.
And that those things that were being implemented or you approved without the board knowledge, I'm talking about how it
And
was.
I don't
This
have
was
to
not
really
improved.
approve.
Wait a minute.
Doesn't have to
You're
be
jumping
approved
the
by
gun.
me, just to correct your statement, though. It's not approved by me. Joan is in charge of the program. We have some discussions in an advisory format, but she doesn't come to me for approval to do it.
And plus,
We're
the
advisory,
funds
we're
were
not-
just given
All right,
to us,
so-
right? So,
But I think there's an in and out. There's an inconsistency. So that's what I'm addressing. I'm not addressing what she has been charged with. I'm not addressing the relationship you have and the responsibility that then you have to the board. In general, even if we don't because if any of us have a conversation or get a call, it sounds better if we say, oh yeah, we're aware of that.
Well,
As
most of
opposed
this
to
week,
say-
that's the whole purpose of the meeting.
meeting.
On a monthly
Right.
basis as
Right.
well.
And this
It
has
has
been
been
mentioned
brought, yeah.
before, this is not new.
No.
We talked about this at 2 other meetings.
You're going
It's
back
been
to
in the
this
newsletter.
particular
Well, this is when
particular
you brought it
program.
up.
I know because it's in that category of information that should come to
What
the
other
board.
information have we not been?
Well, one of the things that you just mentioned that I wasn't aware of was that the trips get planned going back to October, November. You have come to this board from time to time, saying, I'd like to hear what the board has to say.
And I have a suggestion box in the senior center.
I mean,
I don't get.
And I talked
I
with
don't
the
get
seniors and
problem
asked
here.
them what they would like. I mean, it's not that I'm not open, I'm not running the show, I'm not running this ship. I'm directing it, yes, but I'm
And when
not,
was your lunch with Landmark? In December?
yes.
So even though ideally, it's what I heard you say, that the planning should happen in October and November, it really didn't happen until after our last December meeting, so this is the first time we're seeing this because it happened past our last meeting, so now the information is being shared amongst.
And I'm very open to suggestions. I come from a background of a lot of experience working with seniors and working with activities. I have certificates for running programs. I'm a certified program manager. And I'm open to suggestions. You don't run something where people aren't going to show up. So, the comedy show or the tea, I knew people were going to come because they showed interest. So they showed interest in the trips. So this is something that comes from my background and my experience that, yes, I'm going to present or plan, and you have to plan these things months in advance. You can't just say, well, tomorrow I'm going to run a tea. It's not going to work because you've got to get the word out and you've got to do the publicity. And any of these events that I plan, I hope I share it with the board in enough time so that you can be part of it. I want people to be part of whatever we're planning, and I want them, if they have suggestions, to try this, that, and the other thing, I'm glad to try it. It's got to be a communication, as you said, but it's got to be a two-way communication. It's got to be, I'm directing it, but if you have any suggestions, I am open to them.
I mean, I appreciate Nilda expressing herself. Is there anybody else that is feeling a similar way? Because if it's a consistent concern among the group. But I mean, I see us as an advisory board that works for strategic planning for the future and advocating for the seniors in town versus running the senior center. Maybe that's the difference.
Yeah, and I come from the background that the chair and the director always have the most communication, and then at the board meetings, we were given that information.
And that's what I think is happening.
We were told not to come in to talk to the director because you couldn't influence the director in one direction or the other. Plus, they did not have that time. They did not have that luxury.
I
of
definitely
time
don't have that
to come
time.
in.
Ask Janet and Josie.
So I guess I'm not sure where the breakdown is, because I feel what you described is exactly what's happening at our meetings. And if,
But I'm not sure I understand. Are you saying that at some point people advised not to speak to Joan, the director?
Oh, no. This was, I'm talking about in the past, so I come
But
from
that's
that.
not where we are
Go
now,
back to the
right?
past.
Let's move forward.
Yeah,
The past was
I'm
quick and that-
explaining where
let's not go back there.
I'm trying to get clarification in terms of the sequence of how things.
Because as much as
Because if
she
you-
may be running
I will-
around, she's
I-
very open to suggestions.
I will say that I am not at the senior center on a regular basis, so I don't have an opportunity to have a conversation with you or to Kay. I'm not in that line, the flow
Well,
of
if you
information.
were at the center, you would then realize that the communication is very open. I do bingo every Wednesday, and if something's coming up, I'll say to Joan, you want to take a few minutes, and she will let everyone in the room know. I'm sure she does it with Healthy Bones. Communication is wide open. I don't get what the problem is.
No, I don't want you guys to use the word hardship or problem. I am addressing how I am feeling at town about.
That you're out of the loop, somehow out of the loop.
Well, and there are choices. I can't be doing Highland Valley and doing other things, and then doing, and that's been historically. This is not something new that I don't come to the events or to the activities.
Well, just recently, I started sending you the Fritta report, because I knew that you were involved with Fritta, and that was your kind of thing. So I went out once a month, instead of just sharing it with Janet and with Ed, I do share it with you.
And you have, whatever I've asked for, you have responded. I am not being critical. I don't want anybody to think that that's the basis of mine. But I think that if things, this thing with Ed in the picture just kind of throws me off because, and I think it throws off people in the town hall because before the director was with the board and
I think we just have to get used to that.
I think we have
Listen, I can get used to the man sitting in the White House. You can get used to it. May we move on because
things have changed.
yeah, so I mean, I'm hoping that the whole purpose of this meeting is to make sure that Joan informs us of what has happened and what is planning forward, that us as a board will try to work to advocate for the seniors, continue to do that, as well as to plan what we need to do moving forward as our population has grown.
And I think the trips that you have planned are great, so,
Well, we also have, different people, like Liz and Nancy are not, here every day, so they come to the meeting and they find out things, so everybody isn't involved.
Also
On a
have
day-to-day.
company.
Yeah. So,
I mean, if there's something that's fallen through the cracks specifically, please, we're happy to, because I'm
I
sorry that
just
you
don't
feel
want
that
to
way.
call her or take up her time and say, oh, what about this, what about that?
then don't.
Send an email.
She does send emails. We had the Fritta driver, we have a new driver, and she sent me an email. I told you that I needed the appointment today, not yesterday, and I said, he's just learning the route. He's just learning the route so that he can take over next Tuesday. Right. So.
No, we communicate that way because I value the fact that she can do it when she has a moment, when she can, that's, okay.
And if there's anything that we're missing as a board, I know you hesitate to share, not, that, please let us know, because, we don't want things to fall through the cracks or to feel that we're not transparent.
It is different because as when you were the chair, you
And
were
the
right on the,
secretary.
you were on the pulse of everything. You knew what was happening. So
But
now
that was
it's
a very short time.
Yeah.
I never was the chair, never wanted to be. I only went in because of what happened.
Right.
But.
So it is different that, we
But
have
we never-
pre-planning meetings, so yes, I'm giving them information that I give to the group today that wouldn't necessarily, they are privy to because we shared
But
that.
we're talking about the less than a week in advance to make sure that,
Okey doke.
Okay.
Can you
Moving
explain
on.
about the Dilbert bit a little more? I don't understand why is he
So,
coming here?
Chad, they're coming here and they're gonna run a program. So this program
Is there
is
something before
international.
that? I understand the program. Is there something before that where he's going to come
And
just
talk to
for
the
the
group?
board?
Do you want him to come to the board meeting? I don't know if he would.
No, I didn't understand what the
No. No, so, I don't know, back in September, I don't know when you came on board. Back in
Oh, that's when it
September,
starts. Okay.
each council on
I got
aging
it.
was giving $5,500
I got
to
it.
spend.
Okay.
It's okay.
And we were
I
just trying to
understand.
develop something, and this is what I came up with.
I got
and
it.
this
we're good.
is-
There was just a confusion.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
wasn't
she
sure
wasn't
that it
sure
was
what March
starting.
was, and I just told her.
And the conflict with the board, I could, just, okay, good. All right. Thank you for reporting. Now, we're going to the treasurer report.
I make a motion to accept.
All right, so I just have two comments on it. Let me just
And I did get to
quickly-
visit Vicki yesterday finally, after a horrendous Monday.
Oh, holy moly,
So I
did I
can
print
fill
it?
in
Oh, yes,
different
yes.
things with her.
And I want to thank you, Josie, because when I printed it out, I was missing anything that was in red, and I knew I had a printer problem. And my tech son will be so pleased, because his mother went in and said, all right, I'm in system preferences, and I thought, what is wrong? My print heads needed cleaning.
I'm impressed.
You have color printer?
I have a color printer.
Oh, my God.
Would you like to use mine? Would that be easier for
Do you need a copy? Anybody
I
need a
just-
copy?
I-
Thank you.
I always adjust the columns because I get all these dots,
Yeah,
and then
right.
I print it, but when I printed it, still gave me the boo-boo-boo, you know, the...
Well, did you enable?
If it's in
the
there,
edit?
No, I told I said enable
What's your
address.
print? This is your print?
Enable editing, and
Are you talking about the dollar
Yeah.
signs? So for some reason, it's coming up that your column's not wide enough. So if you widen your column a little bit.
I did, I know how to do
Oh,
that.
well,
Yeah,
Just,
well, I didn't
anyway, so
Me neither.
I just looked at it because so I just have two questions, and they're very simple, nothing deep. The revolving account is the money that we never closes out at the end of the year.
Correct.
That is money that has accumulated over time, and that is where the money goes for the payment to the
Yoga teacher.
directors, the people
The
that do the...
instructors, yeah.
And then the revenue side of that is the offset to the money that we receive for the participants of those programs that pay the fees, right? And then on the, this gift account, is that a new?
That's new.
A new account?
Somebody,
And-
yes,
And
gave a
and is
gift.
that given directly to the senior center as opposed to the Friends?
Correct.
Okay. And then, there was another, on the, there was a increase in, I think, 2 of your months, that you got paid more those months than the
So
regular
I took
1040.
a couple more hours because I was either working on newsletter or something that
For the evening murder mystery as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I did take a few
And
hours for
So
that.
we'll have to balance that out somewhere in the other year where she's going to have to take
Time off.
time off.
Okay, so you were aware of that,
Yes.
but Ed approved it? So that gets, you get approval before you use those, you put in those
Ed was
hours?
aware of that.
Okay.
Anything else? That was easy.
We shared emails.
That, yeah. But that came up in my interview with, this is a social service thing. It's not a 8:30 to 3 every day, and some days are worse than others. And I try to stick to 3 o'clock, but I have a report that was due. I stay an extra half hour to finish the report. There's deadlines.
And usually people in your position are salaried
Salaried.
as opposed to hourly.
Right.
And that's where we were always concerned. These are hourly people, and if they put in an additional hours, they're going to get paid because they legally work them and they get
Yes.
paid.
Or find
So we
time
need
to
to
take-
monitor the budget so that we're not.
And that's
why
why
we
we
get
the percentages on the bottom. When we
Yeah.
met last week, we asked, because it's 6 months now, where are we year to date? And so we wanted to make sure we were tracking within our budget, as you said. And it's obviously important to all of us to stay within that. I mean, the hard thing is we develop new programs like the murder mystery using the state formula grant. Unfortunately, it's after our normal hours, and we don't have additional salary to support Joan, so we just have to balance that dollar amount within the 12 months. We want to do new programs, sometimes they fall outside 8:30 to 3, and
you
that's
look
the
at
hard part.
that, we did that, the program was done, and it was done after hours and brought in, close to 50 people. It says that there's a need. Some of the seniors are
There's an
still
interest.
out
And
there
that's across
working.
the board, across the Commonwealth, that people that are still working, they can't come at 8:30 to 3. They're still working till 4 or 5. They're looking for activities in the evenings. Like Easthampton, Northampton has evening hours. Agawam has evening hours. I mean, we're a small community. We don't really have evening hours, but could we fluctuate? Could one of us work, 10 to 6 or 10, a different hour, change our hours so that we have coverage later in the day if people want to come later in the day. There isn't a need right now. I don't see a need right now.
And that's
but-
hopefully part of our strategic subcommittee, planning subcommittee. We need to evaluate some of those things and bring it back to the board with our
Make it work.
recommendations.
But we
Yeah.
need to be mindful, and I think if Maureen was here, she would say that. We got $9,000 to our general line to cover programming.
No, we got $9,000 to our general line to make our director wholly paid by the town, as all directors in town are, instead of paid by a grant. And the reason the state, that freed up the state formula grant to get more programming, unfortunately, some of that programming falls outside of 3:30. And that's what we've trying to balance. So some of those programs that we're developing do that. But the goal of that money was to be able to, like every other director in town, was instead of paying the director, whether it's Joan or whoever, fully from the town, because the town should pay their employees, especially a director of a department, 100%, instead of depending on a state formula grant to pay for that. And we're trying to develop programs, and it takes time to develop them. But I mean, the murder mystery, the Tea Party, and there's all these other programs that have been
See, I
developed
don't
that are
consider
new.
those to be programs, they're events. A program is something that's ongoing, like bingo, or the line dancing, or the...
Well, I think
The
it's a
walking
combination of things. I don't see it so finely defined.
Activity,
That's-
program,
yeah.
event, you're right.
Whether you call it an activity, whether you call it an event, a workshop, the whole point and why we're sitting here on the board is socialization of our seniors, to get them out of their homes, to get them into the community. Well, some of these seniors, in order to reach them, has to be done after 3 o'clock. You know, it may be something as simple as they need to wait for their adult child, to come home to drive them to the senior center. And they, you know, they would take part in it, but they don't have the transportation. So we have to be flexible. I mean, you know, it's not like you reach age 60 and suddenly your body says, okay, I'm 8:30 to 3, and then after that, I'm home. You know, life continues.
I'm thinking, who's
What's that?
Maureen? Okay. It just dawned on me, okay.
I know. So it's just meaning.
Oh,
Right, I was wondering that too. Okay, she went with her.
Yeah, you stumped us all. We all sang.
I think she's out of town still.
Maureen, Maureen, Maureen. Okay.
She wasn't at the meeting.
all right,
So
thank
any
you.
other
mean-
questions about the report? Treasurer's report?
I'm glad to see that we're tracking within budget.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Oh, you know, I did want to mention something that there was, and you would know this, Janet, was there a goal by the town to, moving forward, not hiring anybody for less than $16 an hour?
I haven't seen that.
I have not seen that yet.
I mean, it was actually brought up last night at the select board meeting. Are we moving to $12 an hour now that the state has, and municipalities are not mandated to meet minimum wage requirements?
No, they fall under federal.
So
I heard
we could
that, too.
actually not even have to do $12 an hour, but I think we could attempt to do the,
Because one of the things that I found out quite by accident was that there's another community, and I'm hesitant to because it does involve an individual, that is paying $17 to $18 an hour versus what we pay.
20?
No,
for
not
what?
you.
Not for the director, no, you're.
No,
really
it's
so.
not you.
You're being overpaid.
We're going to cut your anyway. So why would they work here if they're going to get paid 17, 18?
Yeah, I don't-
And then,
yeah,
so
it's all
so
budget.
I said, well, gee, maybe it has to do with the fact that, 16 is sort of the, I thought, because that's when we hired your assistant, that's what we used as the starting.
We said she actually said at 15. We started
Yeah,
at 15.
It was 15, and not 16.
We could go up to 16 within the budget, but we weren't mandated to do
Yeah,
16.
and last night they, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard Ed say that their pay is under federal guidelines, not state. So just because the state of Massachusetts says, we don't have to
We're not
follow suit.
mandated.
Right,
I
sometimes
didn't
in a
watch it.
grant, and I have to look at the grant,
It may state.
it does state that you have to pay, like the volunteer coordinator had to be paid $12 an hour, which she's covered, she has paid that. But there are some grants that say you have to pay them a certain amount an hour. And our new driver was a little hesitant about under 12, so we did pay him $12 an hour, so, which is not as much as Richard gets. And everyone knows that Richard is going to be getting paid a 75% of his pay while he's out.
Because
So-
he's benefited.
Yeah, we never approved that position as being benefited.
It's not up to us to approve it. It's up to the state regulations. If he's working 25 hours or 20 hours or more a week, which he has been for a few years,
Yeah.
then we're
Yeah.
obligated to pay his benefits. It's not our decision.
Yeah, that happened when we lost, because it was 50/50, they shared.
Yeah.
And then.
Meeting almost over?
Why?
We'll make it off.
Well, I had reserved this from 10 o'clock on,
10?
So we started at 9:30.
How could we,
and if you look at the calendar,
I know, but
mine is above yours on the calendar. Somebody just ignored the fact I did that.
were you booked before I was booked? I didn't see that. Okay.
We can adjourn to the senior
We can go
center.
down to the senior center. I'm sorry, it usually gives me a message that says you have a conflict, and I always look to see if there's a conflict. I didn't
yeah,
see that.
sometimes we get an email.
Sorry.
Okay.
I don't get an email, it puts it in red across the top of the page, so if you did that, we'll move downstairs
I
to...
will find another room.
No, we're gonna...
We need exercise.
No, that's okay. I will.
I'm sorry, my apologies. I didn't see if it was a red
My
flag, I
steps.
didn't see it, I'm
He's going to
sorry.
find another room.
10 o'clock, it's 10:20.
I know, he's probably been being patient with us.
Yeah, but we only
Excuse
started
me,
at
but isn't this
9:30.
a regularly scheduled meeting
It is,
once a
but-
month?
Well, but I still have to reserve the room.
Yeah, that's standard.
And it's done downstairs in the clerk's office, and we lost the clerk, we have a new clerk, so I don't know how that all...
No, it's done online. We do it
Yeah.
ourselves.
And you're right, you get on top of the agenda or something, you may have a
Honestly,
possible conflict.
I don't
with it.
see anything as far as this room being booked
So he
this
didn't do
morning
it
besides-
online. He did it on the calendar downstairs
Oh,
at the
he can't
clerk's
do that.
office.
He can't do it on the physical.
he's
No,
got it
what
down
we
here.
need to do is make sure that it's done either both or one or the other.
No, it has to be,
No,
this is
it-
this
once
is
it's-
their guideline.
Once it's on the
so
computer, then the town clerk
That's why I didn't
puts
see
it
it.
on the calendar.
Once you
It's on
post
the
it,
computer.
So maybe Ed
It's
doesn't
not
know
the
that.
computer. He
probably
does.
would.
I don't know what he's, I'll check.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
I'd like to make a
was-
motion to accept the treasurer's report. Does anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Anybody opposed?
He's so bossy, is this the new you in 2019? Does everybody know about
It's her birthday month,
here?
so she
Yeah,
gets
it's my
spicy.
birthday month. I'm going to be,
Okay, report from Highland Valley?
We just had a meeting,
Okay, so nothing
was
to
discussed.
report.
you just
Okay.
went to a meeting and nothing was discussed?
Of course, it's operational stuff.
I forgot to tell everybody, we're having foot care every month now, just so
Oh,
people know.
what happened to the line dancing?
That, she's in Florida for the month.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So
we're
it's
back,
coming
we're
back.
back.
yeah.
Well, let me know, because I'd like to do
And
that.
star dancing
was
and ballroom
doing-
dancing, you got your choices.
Okay,
Depends on who my partner is.
the change to the bylaws. So
Okay.
I forwarded Liz's updated
Did a
document.
great job, I think.
I couldn't get it out.
You couldn't, okay, I can share
have
it.
it.
The only thing, and it's, she just more or less went through, and if it said Board of Selectmen, she changed it to Select Board and things like that. And then, under the term limits, there's only, and there's a, I think our town bylaws say that
This is good.
we don't want to vacate a slot until it's filled. So even at the end of the term limit, I'd like to add something that says, or until opening is filled. Because if somebody's done at the end of June and we don't have a person to replace them, it's not good for us to necessarily keep an
But
open.
don't you think that's kind of understood, the fact that we have alternates?
At this moment in time,
But what
yes.
if we
But
didn't-
even,
But
if we
a
didn't
year
have
from now, or
alternates?
2 years from now,
but isn't the bylaw now state that at any given time, we're always going to have 2 alternates standing by?
Not necessarily, because we don't right now.
and it
have
says
one.
we have 7 board members, but we haven't always had 7 board members, right?
Right.
So I guess, I mean, according to when Janine was here, if somebody wants to step down, they should step down, but wait until that position is filled before they step down.
Right,
If
right.
they
They
can.
can't leave it till the
Physically.
position, yeah.
Right,
that
so-
It's
people have
physically
left.
possible, what something
Yeah, I
happens
mean, it's hard to
them, yeah.
mandate that, but
Yeah.
we'd like to try to
When they're
encourage
done,
that.
they're done.
Yeah, so I would like to add somewhere to this, or until opening is filled at the end of the term, and I bring that up for discussion to this group.
So where are you? What section are you in?
Okay, we are on section 6, which is really the terms, which is what started all this, was adding the term limit.
So let me just ask on, it just dawned on me, so the term of the membership is 3 hours.
3 years.
3 years.
I like 3.
Bye!
That would be a revolving door, wouldn't it?
Why, boy, that's wrong, I'm at.
And I thought the process was already fast.
Gets even faster.
You got all before, yeah, all right. Okay, well, okay. Ay, ay, ay.
And your
So-
question was?
Are eligible to serve to consent. Okay, when you say are eligible, are we saying that at any given, so let's say somebody finishes the first 3 years. They have to be re-evaluated, so they have to be re-presented this,
Well,
like, for,
I think
what does
that's the-
eligibility mean?
I think that's what they have to be reappointed by the select board every term, right?
Yeah.
That's how it
Okay, so
traditionally is.
So,
So you do 3
So I had to
years.
get reappointed by the select board because I filled in a vacancy. So I had to, after like less than a year, I had to be reappointed by the
Right. So
select board.
that,
And Kay had to be
I
reappointed like
did
after
too,
3
yeah.
months.
so when Kay and Janet were reappointed, that's really their first term, because they
So-
were finishing someone's membership.
So our term expiration is still, we're eligible for a second term, but we have to be reappointed in order to get, and that has to be by the select board.
Okay. And what Janet, I think what Janet's proposing is that we should include something. Right now, we have Nancy as an alternate. So if one of us suddenly goes off the board, she's going to be on the fence.
you're rich, you can't say you have a job. We got you on the record.
Fast track, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you're in a nine. Okay, so
She didn't like that fast time frame.
Hey, this
I
was a
believe
plan.
what Janet is proposing is that we didn't have alternates, and how long did we go before we had alternates?
Oh, this
We
is
were
great.
blessed
Yeah,
when these two
yeah,
people
no,
came
no, no,
in.
no.
That was recorded, right?
Well, we'll make sure it's in the minutes.
Thank you for the blessing.
But I mean, I think that it's not in our best interest as a board to say, oh, your term is up, we'll sit with a vacant position. I think we have to be, I mean, our goal is to work to have 2 alternates all the time. We didn't know one was going to be appointed so quickly. So I think our goal would be to have 2 alternates, and we'll work to recruit a second alternate. But in case there's a dry year or 2 that we are not able to fill the board, then we don't want people to leave and have fewer and fewer people on the board. I don't think that's not the goal of term limits.
And then they would go before the select board and plead their case. You know,
And maybe make it a year.
I've served my 6 years, but if I leave the board now,
Well, I don't know that you'd have to go through.
No, you don't have to, you just get
Yeah,
extended
yeah.
by default,
Just for that limited period of time.
Because I said, oh my gosh, I'm not officially on the board, and I was explained to me, because of my term had expired in June, and Janine explained to me that, that's not that simple. You're on the board until, so.
You're not walking that easy.
that door slammed real quick.
So I think the town does have a bylaw that states until the opening is filled, but I guess I want to find a place to include that in here, just to make it clear. And then we have to get these submitted to Ed to go to the select board, I guess, for approval, which we haven't done in the
And
past.
these,
What if,
and that's it, they'll be in effect?
I hope so.
Oh, good.
We're living by them right now.
I know, that's how I'm
What if-
thinking.
In this,
Where are
where
we?
it says, right here,
Are we under terms? Okay.
yeah, board members will be required to leave the board
Yeah, that's
as
where I
soon
would
as
put it, too.
it's filled or,
At the end of their term, or in parentheses, or when position is filled.
yeah, something like that, I think. Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure the exact place to put it in, so I'll leave that up to, but I do think it's important to make sure we're clear that we don't want to just
Yeah,
have vacant
right,
spots on the
right.
board if we're not fortunate to have, or blessed with alternates to that.
Yeah, and maybe that's how it could be worded.
And is there a way in there that talks about a process of going after, like you have now 1 alternate, and you want to probably go for another alternate?
Yeah, it's
Is
not,
there
there's not
process?
I mean, the process
We're going to
is,
put it in the newsletter.
yeah,
that-
to advertise
And I
for
think
that
there's
position.
there's a standing, either on the website where their applications are available for you to
Yeah,
submit.
outside of
so-
the town administrator's office
yeah.
or online, I think.
So,
I think that periodically, we just need to re-educate people about that. And so
Yeah, and I think it's
that-
important for us as
Yeah.
board members to look for alternates that we.
We're evangelizing, that's how you girls joined. ladies.
Right.
Yeah, I asked Yvonne, you asked Nancy, and poof, there they are.
And you know, Healthy
The
Bones
genie.
has a nice group of people now. It's encouraging them. They're more than qualified to sit on the board, but they're just timid and they don't, not sure what they're getting into.
Should I do some
They
training?
invite them to come to a meeting, yes.
Yeah, even if they came and,
Okay,
Any
I'll stay
other?
home that day.
So with that one change, that one modification, should we have a motion to accept the
I'll
new
make-
bylaws, the modification?
I will make a motion to accept the bylaws with the modification.
And do we have a second?
Second.
And any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Just one, should in the motion
Discussion.
say with the modification that, whatever it was you wanted to say.
The position will be vacated at the time the opening is filled.
Yeah.
We'll wordsmith that,
Yeah.
or until opening is
There's
filled.
too many words in
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
Okay. And I second that.
And I'll find the good spot. All in favor, did we vote?
Yep.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? All right, great, thank you.
Can
So,
we do some identifiable, like version, this blah, blah, because,
yes, I'll
I
go
mean, I
ask
was
Liz to
looking
do
for,
that.
it just becomes, I put dates on things that I,
Yeah, I think when I sent, did I send, I know, I think when
now
I
this
sent
is the
it
one
out.
I printed from the website, from your email, but I was looking for the one Liz and I worked on, and I thought I had it here, and it's, so I assumed that everything we talked about at the last meeting got put in, right?
That's
Did you
what Liz
review it?
was gonna, that was up to you and Liz to make sure. That
Well,
was,
Liz never sent me anything.
okay. I think
So-
she's, at the end of the last meeting, she said she would update it
Okay.
herself.
Yeah, she
so-
did.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was taking notes.
Okay, so you can't ask me if I took me and
Did you
looked.
give me that write-up that you wanted me to
No, I
change?
didn't. Oh my goodness. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
so
What the heck
this
is
is our opportunity again to brainstorm on how to spend those earmark funds, which is not just Mike discussing with Joan, or Joan discussing with seniors, but the board's feedback into some of the ideas as to how we spend the additional $5,000 that we have. So any
I have
suggestions?
to get my stuff coordinated here. Everywhere I look, I see ideas. I think that was mostly, but I mean, feel free, but what I have done literally is, it's a heck of a collection of various things that I've just found, that say possibilities exist. So feel free just to go through it.
I was going to say, do you want to just quickly look at them and tell us what they are? I mean,
Yeah, give us some examples.
Okay, some of these I think I've already given to you.
I'll let you
I know you
look
had
at
the
it. You've
list.
got them in your
You had the
mind.
list, and I probably have it in my...
Oh, is that the is that what the list is?
That you sent to us before?
I did, I sent a list, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Did I
And
see that? I don't remember.
It was last, yeah. So go ahead and just
Okay.
start at the top and let us know.
Yeah, okay, so like for instance, just COA trips that one can do that doesn't have to be done at Christmas. Now, just because it says Christmas doesn't mean you have to do them at Christmas. For instance, it can be as simple as, we're doing one to Stockbridge, I know that. Portsmouth, New Hampshire.
You did that already, didn't you?
Newport, Rhode Island, Woodstock, Vermont, Portland, Maine. Just different, so again, looking at different ideas.
So we're looking on how do we,
Yeah, but
how
we need
we
to-
spend this $5,000 specifically.
The activities.
Yeah, it can't be, that wouldn't be trips, though. We couldn't,
Yeah.
it has to be something
Can't
that's
spend it on
beneficial.
wages and trips.
That is beneficial to the seniors.
Right,
Okay.
or to the community.
Nilda, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I remember, Joan, you saying that it didn't all have to be spent by the senior center, by us.
It could be shared, right.
with the community.
Right.
Have you
I
looked
think the
into that?
school, I haven't looked into it, but the school department in Westfield is working with the Council on Aging, and they're doing some kind of a nutritional thing, but we can't do nutrition at our place right now, so.
But walks, you began the intergenerational walks, and it seems to me that being able to do, it doesn't have to be just with the Boy Scouts, because we know I won't say that out loud, Boy Scouts, but it doesn't just have to be them. It can be other groups. We could do it once a month if we had some work with the school board. We could do the intergenerational walks once a month and perhaps build that April through what?
Or
October?
intergenerational anything. I mean, we could
Intergenerational anything.
Invite them to the Council on Aging and
Yeah.
do some kind of a craft or some activity together.
Yes.
I think,
I
Yes.
don't mean to be negative, but I don't think a walk every month would work. I think because it was
impact?
new, it brought the people in, but I think if you did it every month, you wouldn't get the amount of people.
yeah, what month
And that's
did
a
you do it? That
possibility.
was in a
I
nice
know,
weather.
I know what you're saying, I don't
September, that's-
disagree with it.
Yeah,
You know, it's hard to know what's going to bring people in and what's going to not bring them in.
but there might be other things we could do.
Well, I like the idea here of the Tai Chi groups. I think
Yes.
that would be a
Yeah,
great
I'd like
thing
to see
bring
that
in.
started again, because that is something that, I guess they pay the Tai Chi instructors.
We do,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Versus
yeah,
having
we
just-
did try to get him here, and we didn't have the people, so maybe it was the timing or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But I know Easthampton does have the same gentleman from Westfield that does it, and I forgot, if he may be $60 a class or something like that. So it's
Now, it's-
hefty, you've got to get a few people.
That's kind of, we were paying, I don't know, like $5, but then the friends were contributing.
Means you have to have at least 10 or 11 people.
Oh, yeah, we covered the length of a classroom and, here.
With Tai Chi?
Yeah, and so we had the swords and everything, so we needed room to find.
Swords?
Oh, yeah.
So what happened to that class?
No.
I'm just curious. No, I mean, it wasn't-
Mayhem, that's what happened.
Loretta, was.
Somebody got cut with the
She
sword.
was the
and all that.
volunteer coordinator, she was the one that helped. And the woman was a Chinese woman from West Springfield, excellent, great personality, very soothing. And, but a lot of the people, just.
Just fizzled
It's
out.
yeah.
It changes, it ebbs and flows. so.
I don't know if I went to a class, which I thought was the Tai Chi, unless there was a karate. Did you have a karate
We had a guy,
demonstration?
yeah.
Demonstration.
He's gone too.
Yeah. Well, the issue I had with him, and I don't know how the Tai Chi one went, because I apparently didn't go, but he just talked. He didn't demonstrate the way I would want,
Yeah, that was at a luncheon, right? Was that
Right,
a luncheon?
or after a luncheon, right. So, I think Tai Chi is,
I would explore
Really?
that again, because I have
Yeah.
a contact, his name is Lenny, and he's from Westfield, and he does the Easthampton one. Have you been to the Tai Chi in Easthampton?
I have not.
And we can
I
get a
went.
second name with
Did you
West
go?
I
West
went.
Spring.
What did you think of?
Well, I went to the 5 o'clock because I couldn't there was conflict with us, I think it was a Friday at 10, I don't know. It was, I think there were 4 of us, and we did it in the sort of the area as you come in after the desk, and so there's that space. Now they have that.
I haven't been to the
That
Easthampton Senior
table,
Center.
and so of course.
Enrichment Center.
It wasn't a vast space, but for the amount of people, and I just, it didn't get me to that level. This Oriental woman was just, her whole,
Demeanor?
okay. It started from the moment that she got in the front, looking at us, and then we were in position, and we went through.
They have
So
one
do you
in
have-
Southwick, I know, but that's quite a
Oh,
Do
no,
you
no,
have
no.
her name? Do you recall her name? We can try to do a little search, but
She might be connected to the Bai Ching Lee, the people that were from Boston area. They went back to Boston, but he was from
But I
Springfield
know,
College.
she used to come and faithfully made every.
I can ask
Did
Jessica.
you like her?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Everybody
okay.
liked her.
so, yeah, that would be.
But I know at
I'll ask
least
Teresa,
$60 a
maybe
class,
Teresa
so
remembers,
you
because she
have
was
to
in the
have
class.
at least
Teresa's
10 or 11 people to make the class go,
but if we were paying for it as
yeah.
part
Well,
of
I
the...
see, as part of the program.
$60 a class seems high to me. I don't,
If you look at the yoga place down the road.
Correct.
There's $60 a class. A class.
I don't mean,
Not
I
for
mean you're
5
paying the
people.
instructor
This is
$60,
how
not the person. The
okay.
instructor's getting paid
I see,
$60.
That's right, so,
Doesn't look
okay.
like
Yeah, so
a
if you have 6
okay.
people at $10, I mean.
Well, we tried to intro it, and we picked up the costs from the first couple of sessions to see how many...
So you weren't impressed with Lenny, but if there was somebody else that would do
I don't know,
it.
I didn't,
Or
I
maybe it's
wasn't,
for a
you know,
month. Maybe it's.
I know the guy that
$60 a month.
was
I
waiting
don't know,
to do
but-
something with the.
Yeah,
But,
60 doesn't sound.
But for
I
this,
can look
so
into
we
that.
can
Yeah,
also.
but we need to get back to, we have $5,500.
Well, we have, if we do the DOPA fit,
Okay.
and we do the
Minus the one that we have.
pickleball,
All right.
we have probably $4,000 to
All
deal
right.
with. So it's a matter of,
Is pickleball a go?
we'll get to that too.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
assuming
we're
it is.
talking about spending money, so.
Right.
I know, well, that's on the list, yeah, so it,
So what's the agenda?
the park, I thought I had signed up for the park commission's notifications for meetings, and somehow they snuck one in December that I missed, so I have an email into them, which I haven't heard back from them, to get on their next agenda, and I explained to them why I wanted to, so we just need their permission to put lines on our tennis courts over there.
Plus, there's equipment that's at least $300.
Yeah, plus the paddles and stuff add
And the
up
net.
pretty substantially. Yeah, so if there's two nets, two equipment, I mean, we're talking probably close to $1,000. So,
All right, so if you want to do something intergenerational, we need to think of something that kids would enjoy and would be beneficial at the same time.
There's a program called Bridges Together, and that's exactly what they do. Are you familiar with that, Nancy? And it's intergenerational. They're not on in Western Mass, they're in Eastern Mass, but they do some programming and things, and I did go to a workshop on it. So, I mean, we could possibly get a few ideas of how to, I think communication with the school and their school committee. Who was
yeah,
the
I
woman
can
that was
go to
in-
Aaron Kuchar and see if we can get on their agenda of some sort and have a discussion. I mean, a lot
The
of
thing
their...
is that if you do anything, it has to be on a weekend.
Yeah, that'll be up to them. I mean, we can talk to them about...
Well, because we tried to do something with the school where it was during the week. It was sort of, this was in the early days. I mean, when I say a number of years back, Connie was the chair. And we were trying to do that intergenerational. And the kids cannot walk over here. You have to get permission slips to parents. You have to transport them. There were so many logistical issues in terms that it never, I talked to, I think Mickey, I think she's still in there.
Yeah.
And so we just, it didn't happen. So that's why I say if there's anything, it has to be outside of the school.
Right, and not sanctioned by the school. And
Exactly,
just like the
because
walk wasn't sanctioned.
they
But I mean,
have-
if we go and speak to them and find out, is there something that would benefit, it's not necessarily an activity, but maybe there's something that can benefit both the school and the seniors, that's a physical purchase of something. I don't know, I don't have an idea, but I just want
Yeah.
to...
And we're talking several age groups. I mean, you can do preschoolers, you could do high schoolers. I mean, you could do, you know, if we're working with Norris, what is that? First through?
To six.
Six.
Yeah.
So, I mean, or sometimes they just pick like second grade.
And you
they
said
do a
Bridges
reading
Together?
program with the second graders.
She said Bridges
Yeah, Bridges
Together?
Together.
Is that online? Something
I
we would take a look at
it's online.
It is.
Okay.
And
It's
it
got
is
great
Nancy's way
way
ahead
of
of us.
looking at it.
Yeah, but they did like a reading program. You pick second graders, or you do a pen pal program. You know, the kids are learning to write, so they pick a pen pal, a senior, and they write a letter once a month, and then we collect the letters, they come to the Council on Aging, they distribute it, the seniors write a letter, and so they're reading and writing, they're learning. So there's some simple programs that don't cost a lot of money. It may not help us spend the $5,500, but there's still, it's developing that relationship between the seniors and the kiddos.
A few years ago, Norris sent an invitation to the senior center for the Memorial Day festivities. And I know Carolyn and I attended. I think we were the only two. But they reached out, so they would be open.
Yeah, I'm sure that they would. Candidly, I think the school committee meetings are heavily involved in negotiation right now.
Yeah,
But,
that's true.
But maybe we can somehow get on the agenda and talk to them about brainstorming together.
But maybe the kids could, if we fund it, build a float or something.
For the Memorial Day
Yeah.
parade?
Yeah.
That's an
Oh,
interesting
that's cute.
concept. I like that.
I was just impressed that they had so many that came and were involved with it and, did the flowers. I would thought the Memorial Day thing is really a wonderful program.
Now,
Because we had the controversy over the flowers, that's another area.
Who was going to pay for the flowers?
Right. The town couldn't afford the $100 for the
but
flowers.
this was part of the grant, to build a...
That might be a little ostentatious, that might be too big a project, but some...
Well, if you had somebody, and I'm not saying I would be able to do it, but my nephew happens to be an art teacher at the South Hadley, I guess it might be the middle school, or
One of the
elementary,
schools.
one of them. And the principal asked him to have, he wanted a mural on one of the walls of their, what do you call the mascot, which was a tiger. He had his 8th grade class do that, and he helped, of course. He was providing the instruction, and it's actually amazing how good it is. But, if you could get somebody, and maybe it doesn't have to be a volunteer, maybe you could pay somebody who would be willing and able to provide some instruction to the kids to build a float. Maybe. Of course, who knows where you store it.
And not only that, you have somebody to drive it, you have all these liability issues. One of the
It's
things
a
I
thought.
meant, when we first moved into the senior center, was to do a mural of some sort and one of the walls. Of course, now, Joan has every wall kind of covered with something. But that was one of the things that I thought would be great. It didn't have to be the one where the exercise equipment is now, because that's but just something that would engage, whether it was the high school or that somebody could take it under their wing, decide what, make suggestions even.
Right.
Part of a contest, design a
And
mural.
so that
An
we did.
intergenerational mural.
Yeah.
As you said, have somebody design it,
Yeah.
perhaps have kids and seniors work on it.
I think, people will step out. We did, when I was with the PTO, we did a breakfast, the PTO, just the board, well, actually, the board that can show up in the morning, the people that didn't have to be at work. And we did a pancake breakfast for the teachers. And then, what was the other thing is, they did, I don't think it was us, but I think they had grandparents, the grandparents were invited to have lunch, and so that, of course, you have to get permission from the schools, but it was something that, it was intergenerational, and also, the kids were sitting with their grandparents, and of course, grandparents are just so happy to be with their kids, but their grandchildren. So I think something like that, that's what I was thinking in terms of, we can transport them here like towards in the afternoon and just kind of have an activity or something that they can interact. That would be, but it's, but I think it's the most valuable connection in terms of a community with the older folks and the wisdom and the love, and then having these little shining little faces and
Well, let's
misbehaving, but
try to get in
having
with
fun.
Mickey Carmichael and
Who's the woman
Aaron.
that, Thompson, something Thompson? Margaret? No. Who's the one that was in the walk with us?
Margaret Larson.
Larson. And-
The other
She's
would
on the
be
high school.
Oh, she's on
Barbara
the
at
high
the
school.
library. They do a lot
Oh, the
of,
library, yeah.
they do a lot of programs with the children.
Yes, they do.
Barbara might have an
Ukulele.
idea.
Or Johanna.
I wish
yeah.
we could do that. Do
Yeah.
they do that?
We could do the ukulele, why not?
Got to have somebody who can teach it. I can't teach it.
No, we'd have the woman that went to the library to do it. That was wonderful, very engaging. She brought, I don't know, a dozen ukuleles.
That would be
And then
fun.
have
Now,
the
what
kids
is what is
singers.
this, with the kids?
Yeah.
Oh.
So maybe you could, rather than have it, well,
Not in
it
the
could be
senior centers too.
intergenerational, but there may be just,
But music and music
singers.
therapy with
Like to
kids
do
and
that.
adults, oh, I'm right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a scientific fact that music in children helps with math and science. There's a definite correlation.
And I'll tell you, my playing the ukulele helped so much with my range of motion with my wrist.
Because you fell on your wrist last year, right?
I broke it
badly.
Yeah, very badly. But
What's a ukulele? I can't visualize it.
it's like a
small
miniature
guitar.
guitar, but it's
Oh.
4 strings and it's,
Oh, okay.
You could do it with her.
I'll check with Barbara. No, Barbara has a contact person. I think she's out of Amherst. She brings all the ukuleles and she has them all tuned. It's adorable.
That's cute. Maybe we could do it with even just the seniors if they
Yeah.
wanted to do. I mean,
Right.
it doesn't have to be doing just one activity.
Right.
And is there any item for our senior center that we need, that this would be an opportunity to use the monies for that?
can we buy the ukuleles?
Let's try it
Let's not
first.
buy anything we have to store.
Yeah.
Well, if you're, maybe people would, if they join.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That's fun.
You know, one of the things we talked about too, and this is kind of, but, you're on different committees and things, about doing a town-wide, and there, again, it has to be really thought out in terms, maybe a restricted area, but having like a scavenger hunt or treasure hunt or something, and having, certain identifiable locations. Of course, we have to coordinate with the police because people would be walking along, Route 10 and things like that.
Oh, I hope not.
But would you count that as a program, or is that a one-time thing? Because that would be a lot of work to coordinate, and I can't see you
Well, it's
doing
almost
it
like
every week.
the walk. No, it'd be maybe once a year.
Well,
At a certain time.
But a scavenger hunt. So
It'd
you
have to be either in the spring or in the fall, and it's a weekend.
And pray it doesn't rain.
And yeah, that's true. But then,
Weather
I
permitting.
mean, so the seniors, if they participated,
The seniors can hide the scavenger
Right, they
hunt.
didn't have to be
They-
actually physically
and the
walking from
seniors
site
and the
to
kids can
site.
find it,
They could be there, and at each station, there would be something, sort of
They
a
have to
tree.
bring it
yeah.
back or something
Yeah.
to that person.
Well, it could be a nature hunt, like you said, bring back a leaf or bring back a flower.
Something, just, it's the idea of that
could just
activity and the,
Do it at Conant Park and just, so there's no walking on 10 and we can park and do that. And it's big enough that we can maybe spread things.
Yeah,
I would just
I would
think- I mean-
keep them off the Route 10.
Yeah.
But anyway, I talked briefly with Yvonne this morning about the walkway, the rail trail, that how it starts in Easthampton, and it's literally undeveloped in town
Right.
because of financial. It's
it never
it's a
went through the
huge,
way?
it's a huge
Oh, it's
amount
not.
of money now, because they used to give grants to develop these railroads. So anyway, the rail trail, even if they develop a half a mile so that you could go half a mile one way, half a mile the other way, it's not as big a project. But that's again with conservation.
Well, it's a railroad that owns the.
And they haven't,
that-
Oh, so you
right,
have
that's
to buy it from them?
Yeah, well,
That's the
we
big
lease the
amount?
land, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
rails themselves are owned by the railroad, so it's who's going to come in, who's going to take them out. I mean, that's part of the reason it hasn't,
Oh.
I think, from what I
Yes.
understood, that it hasn't gone.
Anyway, East Hampton's is developed, so we could, but we really would want it in town. I think Conant would be great. But we could look into something in May or June before school lets out, maybe.
So anybody interested in joining me to talk to the elementary school? You were given. No?
Nilda's excited about it. Come on, Nilda. It sounds like you have some ideas.
I'm
Yeah.
Sure.
Lori, and then we can, maybe if Liz has
Lori
some time
and I
too.
will be the psychic.
Oh, if you're going, you don't need me then.
Did you volunteer?
Yeah,
Okay.
but that's okay, I mean.
No, I didn't get that positive
I was only being
emotion out of
nice.
you.
Oh,
Because, she didn't think anybody else was.
Yeah,
it works out.
yeah. I've done
What if we
it
did Tai Chi with the young ones? We got the Tai Chi instructor.
Oh, that would be,
That
I
would-
love
That's a
great
idea.
idea.
Yes.
They
Out in
really-
Conant Park. In China, they always do it in the park.
Oh, my God,
yes.
yes, that's right.
So that'll be part of it.
and that could be a
That
real
would-
program.
That could be, well,
Yeah,
that
I
could
like
be
that
part of it,
better
that's a
than
half an hour.
With
That's,
families.
Maybe,
Oh, my God.
maybe it could be, a picnic, I don't want to say, because then it's involving food and stuff, but, we could do the treasure hunt and Tai Chi or something.
Well,
long
the
as the
Tai
ground is
Chi,
level.
I think it would be good to have something that was ongoing. you know, that's
Well,
not
yes,
just a
We could,
one-time
but
deal.
just do
Yes.
a one-time event with the children,
Yeah,
just to get them introduced to it.
well, that would be.
I mean, you know, get them away from video games and
Yeah.
outside.
So we'll try to kind of brainstorm, maybe either with Mickey or with Aaron, and see what they, pull you guys together to do that, okay?
I think that, I love that idea.
And is there any, one item that you were thinking of? I know you talked about an exercise, another exercise.
Yeah, I don't have a clue on it right now. We are working on something, but I have money in the budget for some kind of those privacy tables for the computers.
Okay, right,
So
right.
that they had at the library, we had them for a while, now the library has them, I'm trying to get them.
They belong to them.
I know, but I
Yeah,
want to
so
get
they
it,
don't
I want to
have
get
to
our
purchase
own.
Our own, yeah.
Oh, they're ours.
Yeah, so I'm looking at trying
Okay.
to find those, so.
All right, good, good. So, and the Parks Commission, like I said, I put a request in to speak at their next meeting. I haven't heard back from them, and I am on their email alerts now for meetings, so hopefully that'll happen soon, because I'd like to move forward with that. It's going to be spring before we know it. So with Frida, as we mentioned, we're trying to balance a budget paying 75% of one salary and 100% of the other substitute bus driver's salary. So we have to be very careful about the budget. So I don't know if we need to consider cutting back to 3 days a week, 4 days a week. Just wanted to throw it up because I think we need to make some decisions in order to stay within budget now that we kind of have a double hit salary-wise.
So
3 days a week for what?
How busy
To have
is
the bus
Friday?
available.
So Friday has been hit or miss, and so our first suggestion would be to, at least for the winter maybe for a couple months, just to close on. And he'll be back in 2 months. So,
He hopes.
but,
He
yes,
hopes.
but he was the one that didn't really want Fridays, but he's been filling in on Fridays, so.
But I think we have to look long-term as well into not having a benefit position for the bus. I mean, that was never the intention. Hank only worked Fridays, so most of the bulk of it was Monday through Thursday
And
anyway.
I'm even surprised that that slipped through because Frida would have been involved in that conversation about, you know, changing the status of the driver to benefit. Because it changes the whole dynamics of the budget.
Right, but
And
it
so-
even talked about the PCF from 2 times ago said 20-plus hours, and then we
May
changed it to a
2017.
variety of
Yeah,
hours.
varied,
In
yeah,
the last
hours.
one, which varied, because it was variable, but it was for quite some time, it's been,
Oh, yeah, no, I'm
yeah,
not-
over
I'm
the
not,
20 hours. Even though we put
but-
not benefited on the PCF, it's driven by the number of hours that they work
Right.
weekly, so. And we went to Frida to say, do you pick up the benefits? And they weren't.
Well, we're
No,
paying for the benefits.
Yeah, no, everything.
And that's not out of the Frida budget, that's out of our town budget, which is,
Correct.
you know, a whole different story. So, any thoughts about, we need to make a decision probably today.
I'll be honest with you, we are lacking in transportation needs. You know it, I mean, we had 1 van, 1 driver, well, 2 drivers. It's not enough to cover the transportation needs of this town. I'm going to explore PVTA and why they're not helping us out and why, I mean, I know we have the van from Franklin County, but we should have other organizations and options helping us, because we have a list of maybe 8 people now, including Janet and Francine, that will drive people. But we can't always rely on volunteers as well. So, I mean, there is a bigger need than we can supply right now. So that has to be one of my major things this year, is to find other transportation options. So, anyway.
So moving forward, though, I mean, this is where I think this board does have to have an influence over this
Oh,
decision.
definitely right now,
This
yeah.
is not an ed decision.
Yeah.
So, do we?
But he would be in agreement with us. Isn't he our representative to Frida?
Yeah, he's the liaison. I think he would probably recommend 2 drivers part-time under, 19 and a half hours, no more. And because the new one is more than 19 and a half hours, because the temporary driver is not going to be benefited, so we have to keep his hours below 20. So we have to cut someplace.
Okay, yeah.
So could you do it, maybe just do medical?
There's a possibility. I'm not sure. I think shopping is very important, too. So I don't know.
So what
I
are-
think,
And coming
in
to the
terms
senior
of-
center is very important.
Oh, that's right.
in terms of the
I hate to have to
fill-in,
pick
the
and
temporary, I don't think that if he works over 20 hours, that's going to make him benefit.
If he does
Because-
consistently for a
But
long time.
He's only
You
going to
can have
work
a-
6
you
to 8
can-
weeks, so.
You can have a temporary person for up to 12 weeks that may not be benefited.
My understanding, and because I checked this out, because I was under that perception, was that if they were temporary, they're not benefited. And I was told
Right.
that that's not correct, that if they're working consistently 20 hours or more,
We'll have to
between
talk
Jen
about
and
that.
Ed, so, you know,
We'll have
and
to
I
talk
think the
about that. We need to
PPP as
talk
well.
with,
Yeah, I mean, if they're a temporary employee, that's been my take too.
That
they weren't
They are not
benefited.
part of an employee, right. They're
That's
not
not-
part of the
that's
benefit
not what
pool.
was explained
And
to
that
me.
was, yeah.
So
I
we'll
mean,
have to
I-
check
That's what I
that
always
out.
thought, but
Yeah.
and maybe we
I
can
mean, maybe
go.
that's,
Because that was my assumption, that it's not an issue, and we were going to put even on the format 20-plus hours, but they said, no, it has to be 19 and a half, or they'll be benefited. So,
I
and that's
think
as a
that's a-
temporary employee.
Yeah, I think, well, it wasn't on my list before.
Thank you. Thanks,
Have a good
Nancy.
day.
so just on that point, because, you know, you know how I feel about this contract, and I agree with Joan. I mean, the need outweighs the resources we have. I am concerned about, I mean, Richard has been a godsend. I mean, I can't, you know, from the day he walked in and the relationship he has and the comfort that people have, I mean, we're going to miss him for those 4 to 6 weeks or whatever.
6 to 8.
Won't be
Okay.
4, 6 to 8. 8 to 10 is
Well,
what I
that's what
wrote
he
down.
told me the other day, so I said,
He wants to get back, but
he's
You're
optimistic,
driving,
yeah.
you know, you're gonna have to not come back full-time because,
Can I ask a question? Is there anything that, I don't want to cross any confidentiality, so I just want to
No,
make sure
no, no,
whatever we
no,
say
no,
is very,
no, no, no.
you know.
so this
Yes,
is.
that's what I'm saying, yeah, that we're
Yeah,
being recorded. Yep, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, so, no,
I'm worried, I gotta
whatever.
find out if it's his right knee or his left knee, because that's the gas pedal, so I don't know what it is.
I don't know.
I know.
So in any case, so the concern I have is because we've been so comfortable and Joan has been, this has been one area that she has not had to, you know, worry about.
True.
We have a person that's here for a temporary, for the period of time. I don't know, it's all contingent on his status too. I recommended last time that we have, if we go to 2-2, and
2 people, you mean?
yeah,
Okay.
or 2 days each, you know, whatever.
Right. That's why
I wanted, yeah, so, and then have that Friday, because how that Friday happened was that neither of them wanted to work, and they had a job somewhere else, one of them did. So we accommodated. I really think we need 2 backups. You know, if we go 2 and 2, then we know, and we make it very clear to that second person that they have to fill in, you know. And one of the things that I was told the other day by the person was that one of the drivers that we had prior, it was such a wonderful relationship. It was very supportive. It was very cooperative. And he wished that that could be duplicated again, because it does. You know, you don't feel the stress of, I'm not feeling well, but I got, because somebody's not going to be there as a backup. And because of the situation, I don't know what conversations you've had with this person, but what if something happens with his status and
Right. So actually, I think, is it still on the board that we have in need of a driver?
I didn't see it posted in the last email.
All right, so
You may want to, you know,
Continue it.
continue
a
it up,
part-time-
because
looking
I
for
don't
part-time
disagree.
driver.
I think that, you know, I don't know at the end of this period of time what his interest is.
His plan is not to be, I mean,
So
eventually
we
he
need
wants
to-
to move to Iowa.
Okay, so, so we'll have to, I think we still have to promote looking for a backup driver.
Yeah, because we don't want to be in the situation that we were with your Friday situation. That would have been, it would have been nice if things could have transitioned a little smoother than.
Well, they're transitioning now.
Right now, we already
And now,
have
yeah.
bookings for this month. and some are medical. And, you know, we
So
are
what do-
looking for other rides for those people.
What do we have to decide today?
I think we have to decide if we're not going to offer transportation on Fridays.
Oh, okay.
And then people can plan their doctor's appointments accordingly. I mean, and
actually
if
put it in
there
the
is a
newsletter.
volunteer that can take them, but, you know, to get a call at a certain point and try to respond or pull Joan out of the office because she becomes the driver, those are not good
Yeah, it
solutions.
doesn't sound
You know
like
we
we're
shouldn't
ready
be
to do
doing that,
Friday
yeah.
yet.
Right.
It doesn't sound like we have the adequate staffing.
Right,
drivers
and then
do
we have to
Friday.
keep those hours
And
down.
you know, when you really think about, I mean, because I'm a user of the van, and not, you know, as much as other people, but I, you know, I rely on it because I don't have a second person that can take, particularly for my eye appointments. And so, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, golly, I lost the thoughts I was thinking about. I think that, so it's almost remarkable how he's able to accommodate the people that he can. Because when Joe and I talk, and you know, he's here, he's there, there's just no way that you can,
Right.
the distance between the necessary points of
Yeah.
need.
He's putting hundreds of miles on the van a day. It's incredible.
Yeah, and so that's another concern. I don't know whether, you know, this person is going to be able to pick up that kind of
I was going to take it,
timing.
maybe by the end of the 2.5 months, he
Yeah,
can figure it out,
yeah.
but not for the
Right,
first
right.
2.
So, you know, if I you know,
won't
I
be able
have
to
to
do
be
what
in my
Richard did.
appointment by
Yeah.
10:45
Yeah.
or 9:45, I can't remember, because that's, anyway, and I have to be there because I have to do some, particularly if I have the surgery, I'm nervous.
Right, you don't need that anyway, it doesn't.
And I don't, you know,
So
I have
let's
no.
get back to.
So what-
not to
what-
interrupt.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
But it's
are
getting
there
late.
areas that we
Almost into
can,
2 hours here.
are
which
there,
is
are there,
not-
are there areas that we can withdraw from at this point in time that the van is being used for, that we can eliminate while Richard is out? So I mean, do we go to pick people up in Easthampton and bring them here? If that's the case, maybe we don't pick them up in Easthampton and bring them here.
So
Is there-
literally, we can't pick people up in Easthampton.
Okay.
We can bring them to Easthampton and return them here. We did have a gentleman who was going there, and he had stopped, but he just asked about it again. So maybe, you know,
mean, for this-
bring somebody to Easthampton Senior Center instead of staying at our center.
You know, I think your idea about getting the PVTA, you know, exploring something with them, because personally, I think a lot of people, not just seniors, would like to have that option to go into Northampton and not have to worry about driving a
Is that
car.
the bus? Is that the bus or the van?
Yeah, this-
The
well, the
bus.
Well, it is a
The
van.
van,
It's
the van,
actually
the
a van.
smaller.
The
Well,
city-
yeah, yeah,
the city
yeah.
bus probably won't come through
No.
there, but.
You can't change their schedules as much as the
I think
van
there's a
schedules.
bus, because Mark looked into it on a Saturday.
There are
that-
buses,
In
yeah.
Easthampton to take you to Northampton, and then I picked them up in Northampton.
But to
He
get
was
to
determined to go.
Easthampton is the question, to get to the bus, right?
Yeah,
Does the
yeah,
bus
yeah.
stop at the
Yeah.
shopping center here, though, for people to go to Northampton?
I don't think so. I think that
It's in like the middle of
East-
town.
Easthampton,
Yeah.
you know, right near the enrichment.
But the
center.
PBTA can help us down the road. I'm not sure they're going to resolve our.
Oh, no,
not our immediate
now,
need, but
so,
you're right.
yeah. Today is there anything that we
I mean,
can,
if I had.
other than Fridays?
If
that
we have
need
a
to
Monday or
eliminate?
something that's really low, I can just cancel things on a Monday I mean, Mondays tend to be one of the slower days. And for drivers. He's got, like, Tuesdays and Thursdays are incredible. Mondays and Wednesdays are hit or miss, you know. So, I mean, if we had to cancel another day, it might be Monday.
But how
I would
much
look
do
at
we
this
save
in
on that?
terms of the first critical component that I think, if you talk to Frida, would be medical.
Right.
And the next tier could either be that kind of socialization.
To the
you know,
Food shopping,
yeah.
anybody who
Yeah.
depends on it for food
Yeah,
shopping.
I don't know, you know.
So those are
I
the
didn't
three:
look at the
medical,
report.
food shopping, and bringing people here. Are there other things that we use the van for that we can just eliminate for February, March?
I'd have to look at all the different rides. We do lots of different rides.
Because I think we have to, I mean, if we're cutting the hours basically in half, because Richard was, well, not in half, but we're dropping them by a third.
But look at that medical appointment that I filled in for. The woman went to the Pioneer Valley with
Right,
Spine.
right, Spine,
10
Hatfield,
minutes.
right.
And that's a long way to
I know, because it's
Hatfield.
outside, yeah.
That's past River Valley.
10 minutes
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was there. So literally, if it was the bus, he should have just waited. But, and in fact, he wasn't even available that day. He was in Springfield. So,
Because I've taken her there before, and yeah, she kind of has a sense of how long it's going to be, but if you only have one bus, then it's, or
Yeah,
Joan. So,
Long way.
Why
I mean,
don't we do Mondays and Wednesdays, Mondays and Fridays? And then if there was something came in on a Monday, maybe one of the volunteer drivers could do it.
So you're saying eliminate Monday and Friday? Wow.
Temporary.
Richard is out.
Yeah.
And Mondays, we have the holidays too.
we do.
Do we have, yeah, so
We have one
January,
each
February,
month,
you have
yeah.
March.
That's right.
Yep.
And so
That's a
that's
good
easier,
point.
and usually those are the quieter days because of that situation.
Yeah,
So,
so that gets us
And if
through.
there's anything other than medical shopping or coming to the center and back, we might have to look at eliminating that.
are you still doing the MGM?
We were doing MGM on Mondays, and we could cancel that or
I
make
mean,
it
we
a
may
different
just
day.
have to,
okay
we may
with
just
that?
have to postpone that until until we get two drivers.
And they're going next week, so it'd be a perfect time to
I
tell
mean, we
them.
just can't have two drivers doing 25 hours.
It's
We got
only,
to stay within budget.
No, it would be somebody who might do Monday, Wednesday, and then somebody do Tuesday, Thursday. or
Exactly,
something.
yeah, and that's how it worked.
So let's take a look and,
Yeah, I can
If
do that.
we-
I just happen to be doing the February calendar.
okay. And we need to, let people know, and again, while Richard's out. I mean, we can't necessarily say that, but, since he's out medically, but people understand, I think they know that he's out. right?
Yeah, most people know.
Well, now they're going to know.
Yes, as soon as they log on to our, okay, is there, sorry. Okay, so we'll move forward with that, and next meeting is February
Love
6th.
every minute of
There you
it.
go.
February date on that one again?
2/6,
Thank you.
What was that? I'm sorry.
Next-
See, I'm not
next
listening
meeting.
because I'm being,
and February 6th, the
February
first
6th.
Wednesday. We're back to our
Oh,
normal
okay.
schedule. Why are you groaning?
I have had almost 100% attendance. I want an award at the end of the year.
Attendance award?
Doesn't count. I'll take a leave of absence.
Excuse me, I have one quick question regarding our director, who needs a letter of support.
Oh, did
thank
she
you.
get it?
Oh, crap, I didn't write that yet.
Oh, are
Are
you
you the
doing it?
secretary? It was like,
We do
too many
a joint-
holidays.
we
Yeah,
do
we
a
do a
joint
joint one.
You're
Yes,
going to
yes.
join me. I'm kidding.
That was on my list, and I forgot.
I was going to ask about that because when I read the minutes, what is the meaning? It says something that the position will be certified. What is that? We're not.
Director certification.
There's a state
A
certification,
state
right?
certification for director. All it means is that, it's not going to change anything. It just means that I'm certified that, yes, I'm qualified as a director.
Okay, so anybody moving forward also is it
No,
automatically?
no,
Oh, it's
That's what the
individual.
senior
right.
center got certification, which they have that
When
too.
Joan gets sick of us and she's doing her resume, she gets a certificate.
Don't worry.
Another one on top of what
This is my swan song, and I hope it's here for a long time.
And I wanted to just mention that I was thinking about having somebody come in from the MCOA and address the board.
Oh, yes.
Talk to the board. How do people feel about that?
Yes.
what are they going to talk to us about?
Yeah, right. I mean, just to kind of,
Well, what is an interesting, I mean, there's still some new faces here that haven't really.
well, we can send them over there.
There is board training.
Something to do with
Actually,
it.
there is board training available, but it's not always local, so.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see that.
There hasn't been an email from Emmett about the training. Well, he did it here last year, 2 years ago, and so he tries to cover
Right.
Durford.
He was here in Northampton this
Yeah,
within the last
was it
months, right?
this
That
past
was,
last year? Yeah.
So, all right, well, we'll
I've been to
scratch
so
that
many
for
of them.
now, and then.
I was gonna say, we can look for something local and send the, them.
Yeah.
Oh, 3 of them, I'd go.
Three, yeah, there you go.
Okay,
I've never been.
should we have a motion to adjourn at 11:14?
So
Second
moved.
that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I got a headache.
The television.
Oh, yeah.
Have a great month.
Thank you for everything this off now.
Wade, thank you.